Installing Exchange Server 2016 Part 1. In this video we're going to learn what are the prerequisites to install Exchange Server, and we're going to install them actually. So if you remember, in our previous video you learned what are the hardware and software requirements for Exchange Server 2016. So let's get started and work on prerequisites. So the first prerequisite is IIS, and in order to install IIS you can go to Server Manager, click on Add Remove Roles. Next, it is going to be role base, and that is the server where we will be installing our IIS. I'll select Add Features. Next, I don't have to do anything with the features right now. It's because I'm installing a role. Press Next, and what I am going to do is I'm just going to show you um, the components or the services that is required by IIS. So all these components or services are not required by IIS. There are only some that is required by IIS. So the first thing is going to be IIS 7 dynamic content compression, and then it is the next one is IIS digest authentication, which is this one, and dynamic compression is going to be here, so this one, and WMI compatibility, that's the another requirement. I'm telling you this because most of the time your organization will not allow you to install all IIS services because it may be their policy, or you do not want to install all these and then have less space in your disk. So depends on your company policy or what you are trying to do. So the other one is WMI compatibility, and then client certificate mapping authentication, um, and then HTTP redirection. That's the another one. HTTP redirection is already selected, and request monitor. So that's what we need in order to install our IIS for Exchange Server. So again, just write it down if you want. It is IIS 7 dynamic content compression, IIS digest authentication, IIS 6 WMI compatibility, and then client certificate mapping authentication, HTTP direction, and request monitor. So these are the things that you need in order to install IIS for Exchange Server. So for me, I'm going to select them all, even though it's not required, but I'll just select them all because I do not have any organization policy or any other thing that I should be afraid of. So I'll just simply press next and install. So this is going to start installing our IIS for us, and then once the installation is completed we will be moving to the other prerequisite that we have for our Exchange server. Alright, the installation is succeeded. I'll simply click on close and we are done with IIS. The next one is the unified communication um, managed API. That is also one of the requirements by Exchange Server 2016. So as you can see in here is that it says installation requirements. Microsoft Unified Communication Managed API 4.0 runtime requires the following missing, which is Media Foundation. So this is one of the other things that I wanted to do is I wanted to show you that Microsoft Unified Communication requires Media Foundation to be installed in order to run. So it is something that uh, this Media Foundation is a prerequisite for Unified Communication Managed API. So this is just an example that I did on purpose to show you that, for example, if we do the installation of Exchange Server 2016 and if one of those prerequisites are missing, you will be getting an error like that. So I will simply close this and then I will just install Media Foundation first, and then we will run this setup again. So installing Media Foundation is not that hard, so you simply need to go to Server Manager and then again add roles and features, and this time it is going to be a feature, it is not going to be a role. So you simply skip this role part, and then when you reach the feature part, click on Media Foundation, press next, and then I will simply install it. So let's wait for it so that once it is done, we will just run a unified communication API application again, and then we will see if it's going to give us the same error again or not. Okay, so you can see that the installation is completed, but it is just telling us that you need to restart in order to just let those changes take effect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm simply gonna go ahead and then um, restart this server 2012 operating system, and so I will simply restart this, and then we will just come back and then we will do the installation of that application and other prerequisites that we have. Alright, so it is restarted, and then we will just come back again and run this application to see if it's gonna work this time. Next, I accept, install. Looks like it is going to work, which is cool, right? So let's wait for it. I think it's gonna take a little bit time, so I'm just gonna pause the video and see um, so that it's not just recording things that we don't really need to record. Alright, so the installation is completed, and then there's one other thing that we need to install, and that is Active Directory Management Tool. So same thing, roles, next, and then simply click on Active Directory Domain Services, add, press next, 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 install. Alright, so it is installing now. So the installation is completed, and then the other component or the other prerequisite that we have is .NET Framework. So I want to show you something in here. So when I go to roles, add roles, you can see that it is .NET Framework 4.5, but the requirement is that you must have 4.5.2. So this is not going to work. So that's why we will have to just download from Microsoft website. So if you see my page in here, I have already downloaded this 4.5.2, and this is offline installer from Microsoft website. So what I'm gonna do in here is I'm simply gonna just copy it into the virtual machine desktop, and then from there we will do the installation. Alright, so .NET framework is in here, and then we will just run the installation, and once it is completed, then we are good to go. But one other thing that is left, that is update Active Directory schema, which we will do in our Exchange Server 2016 installation part 2. So what we did in this video, we just installed all applications and all requirements that we really needed to install Exchange Server. So in our next video, we will do the installation of our Exchange Server 2016. But before that, we will run a schema update, and you will see that how it works. So schema update is really important. It really needs to. So what Exchange is gonna do is Exchange is gonna go to your Active Directory domain, and then it's gonna copy all the attributes that Exchange Server have, and then schema is gonna get that, and it's gonna make sure that it copies all those attributes, and then it is up to date, and it is fully functional and compatible with your Exchange server, so that once they are integrated with each other after the installation, they can just the performance and everything is always good, and whenever you're just pulling out all information, it is always good. So schema update is really important for those things. Like I gave you an example that if you just go to properties of your Active Directory user account before installing Exchange Server, you will see like name, first name, office, company name. But after the installation of your Exchange Server, you will see more than that, because Active Directory is just getting all those things from Exchange Server, and it's updating its schema. So that's what is happening when you're doing a schema update. So the installation of .NET Framework is already completed, and it's going to ask us to restart. I'm going to restart it, but I'm going to pause the video or stop the video in here because we are going to go ahead and do the recording for Exchange Server installation part 2, where we will be doing the installation as well as the schema update. So I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have learned something. Thank you very much for watching.